You have McGann here with the Big Hero 6 theory, a movie where the world is all tech-savvy, yet Aunt Cass is driving Mater. And before I talk about Tadashi, I want to fixate on Dr. Robert Callahan for a minute. There are some interesting details that come up before the big explosion that are integral to unlocking the movie's secrets. When Callahan first appears and his achievements are brought up, one of them is that he created the Callahan laws of robotics. The only reason to use the term laws of robotics is to reference Isaac Asimov's 3 laws, which are that a robot cannot hurt a human or otherwise allow a human to be harmed, a robot must follow all orders, except for those that would hurt a human, and a robot must protect itself, so long as no human lives hang in the balance of the robot blowing itself up or something like that. These are the theoretical laws that would prevent Skynet from taking over Earth, but it's also a flawed system if you have a philosophical mind. Sunny aside, we can assume that Callahan's laws of robotics are roughly the same principles. The reference is meant to tell us that Callahan is the father of artificial intelligence in this world, and his laws are likely a code that all robots are programmed with. That's ultimately why Baymax had to save Abigail and sacrifice himself. But knowing that Callahan is kinda nutty, I also believe that he may have some extra initiatives programmed into every advanced robot. Maybe he even has the ability to make all robots do his bidding. Of course, Callahan couldn't exercise that abuse of power in the movie, partly because he wasn't at his computer, and partly because he would be easier to track as the culprit and not dead person. That all boils down to Baymax being influenced by Callahan in the future, because even though Hero built a new version of Baymax, I bet you 10 to 1 that the new Baymax has Callahan's laws of robotics, just like the original Baymax did. Also keep in mind that Baymax was Tadashi's creation, but Tadashi didn't make Baymax in the garage. He made Baymax at the university using their lab and resources. Most colleges would consider Baymax their intellectual property, especially since it probably took hundreds of thousands of dollars to make Baymax. So after Tadashi died, there is no way that Baymax and his charging station would be left abandoned at the cafe. Well, not unless Baymax was all part of Callahan's plan. Baymax was spying on Hero, probably sending a live video feed to Callahan the entire time, so that Callahan could find the perfect moment to bring Hero into his villainous circle. But Callahan was not doing this alone, because Tadashi never died. Instead, Tadashi faked his own death so that he could go along with Callahan's revenge plan, only Tadashi wasn't out for revenge. He was more in it because he hated companies that exploited technology for huge profits rather than the good of humanity. And he wanted his brother there with him. After all, who else would have turned on the monitor in Cray's abandoned experiment? That place had been deserted for years, yet who queued up the video of Abigail's disappearance so that it would be easy for the heroes to find? Callahan himself had a very emotional response to seeing that video play, so I don't think he set that up. That exposition was meant to make us feel bad for Callahan overall, which would be a tactic used to lure someone to your side. Or to simplify it, Tadashi wanted Hero to join them, but Callahan had changed his mind about that after seeing Hero's drive to stop him. You think I'm crazy, right? Well, notice that Callahan hands Hero a college acceptance letter minutes after Hero wowed the crowd at the competition. But, that's not how college entry works. There are committees, review boards, entire teams of people are dedicated to deciding which students get admitted into college. And while a professor can push to get a student admitted, why was it that Hero needed to create microbots to get into a good school? His regular robot was impressive enough, not to mention his genius IQ that allowed him to graduate high school at 13. The only thing keeping Hero out of college was an application. There is no review board that would reject a kid with that much potential. So Callahan having the acceptance letter on him just proves that Hero had been accepted before the contest. That suggests that both Callahan and Tadashi wanted Hero to really want to be in the nerd lab. They wanted to make Hero work for it to see what he could do. To find out if he could be an asset to their plan. And with the way that Tadashi looked up to his mentor, I believe that Tadashi was Callahan's underling because Tadashi trusted and believed in his mentor's cause. Tadashi was already a college student when Hiro was given his acceptance letter, so he knew how acceptance works, which proves that Tadashi was in on the whole thing. Now, hear me out, but it seems obvious to me that Tadashi knew the fire was coming. In this huge crowd of people, Tadashi was the only one trying to go all rescue ranger and get in there. And look at Tadashi's face when Hiro tries to stop him. He doesn't look brave or determined. He looks like he's struggling with a decision. And that decision might be whether or not to move forward with the plan, knowing that it will hurt Hiro. Think about it. Tadashi is a science kid. He's not particularly athletic. He has no background as a fireman, so going into a burning building just makes him a hindrance and another person who needs saved. Tadashi is too smart not to know that. Now, it's true that the explosion happens quickly after Tadashi enters the building, but how many inventions in there could have saved Tadashi's life? There's this unexplained hamster ball thing. Oh, and hey, literally a giant vat of water! Plus, if Tadashi and Callahan are working together, Callahan could have easily used the microbots to shield Tadashi too. But the bottom line is that there is no mention of a body being recovered, which makes Tadashi's death unconfirmed. And don't try to sidestep the death by saying it's a Disney movie. We were forced to look at Mufasa's corpse and cry with Simba, weren't we? If you really consider all the angles, there was no reason for Callahan to start the fire. Hiro was already desperate to be a student, and that meant that the microbots were going to be further developed and overseen in the labs that Callahan runs. So he would have learned firsthand how to make them and reproduce them without anyone being the wiser. Plus, Callahan reveals himself to Cray the minute he attacks, so there was really no need to fake his own death. The only real reason to start that fire was to fake Tadashi's death so that he could work with Callahan off the radar. And Baymax, who is programmed with 10,000 medical responses, somehow can't register the fact that Tadashi is dead? Maybe that's because he knows where his creator really is? What if the whole Tadashi is here is really a hint that he's working in the university after hours alone? After all, it's a question that Hiro never asks. Also consider, if Tadashi was so committed to Callahan that he faked his own death and crushed his family, then how do you think Tadashi will take it now that Callahan has supposedly given up his plans for revenge due to his daughter being recovered? Oh wait, if your family is affected, you quit, but I made my brother and aunt think I'm dead for you? I see how it is. I mean, it's not like I can come back from the dead without implicating myself with your terrorism, but you got what you wanted, so hey, that's cool. That scenario just might make someone mad enough to snap and take over for their mentor, which would make Tadashi the new villain if another Big Hero 6 movie goes into production. Actually, that would be an awesome way to start. Then they could redeem Tadashi and make him a new member of their team. That way they could call the movie Big Hero 7! If Disney spruces up the storyline to include an accident that caused mutant powers, or explain powers through some new high-tech gear, then Tadashi could become another character from the comics. Before Hiro led the team, there were two other Asian men in charge. Sunfire, who had a dark past, could fly, and even create heat blasts, and Silver Samurai, who could charge things with his mutant powers to make them more lethal. Tadashi could become either one of those characters, and either possess supernatural powers now, or the better approach for the theme of the film, create technology that replicates those types of powers like they did with Fred. Yeah, I might be overthinking it, but that's literally my job. Well, that's all I have for now, but this video's not quite over yet. I get a lot of comments that say, do a theory on this topic, but I've already done those theories. So please consider going to my main channel page and clicking on the video tab so that way you can see everything I've done. You will probably find a lot of things you like that you never even knew that I posted. I want to let you know that I also have two other channels, Say Halo Goodbye Gaming and the Fanily Family Vlogs. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed enough to hit subscribe and share. I can use all the help I can get to let other people know that this channel exists. And if you made it this far, leave me a comment that says something like, hey, I made it to the end, and then let me know what kind of videos you want to see in the future. I can't make any promises, but the more people that request something, the more I can look into it. Okay, well, I love you. I'll see you in the next video.